think we are live. So welcome everyone to the Raptor Resource Project Giving Tuesday broadcast for information. We don't get to do these very often, so it is a fun time to just give information out and talk about what's going on, what we've been doing, kind of our thoughts about what's coming up for the year, and also just to remind you that we can do what we do because of the support from all of you, whether it's as a volunteer or with donations or things like that. If you like watching the cameras, please consider helping out a little bit with that, whatever way you can. So with that said, I think we were showing this before, but I think it's kind of cool to talk about this. This was I think auctioned off or given, maybe given, I'm trying to remember, to me by Dorothea from way back in maybe 2011, and that was when the Decorah Eagles went viral in 2011, 270 million views that first year, and we even had a Decorah Eagle number 18. Basically, it was Kyle Busch
NASCAR.
A NASCAR with the Decorah Eagles on it. I remember that was the year where there was some questions in Jeopardy about the Decorah Eagles, and just really kind of cool memories about what started it all. You can see Mom and Dad Decorah on the car and everything else. Just something fun to talk about to start things out. So.
And I think with that, we're going to get into talking. We're going to start with Decorah, and if you have questions, we're monitoring our various chats, so feel free to ask them, and we will try to get to them towards the end of the conversation. So with that, let's talk about Decorah and the big exciting news.
Yeah.
We're so thrilled.
Right. So the big exciting news about Hatchery Mom and Hatchery Dad, we had just a really amazing year. I think reflecting and looking back as we are watching them building another nest, just I think it was just yesterday evening, overnight we saw Hatchery Mom in the N1 tree. So I guess I'm not going to give up all hopes.
Talents crossed.
But like I said, best we can tell, it looks like they're building another nest, and they're active on that one. So our guess is that they probably will nest there, but we really don't know yet. I guess the time will tell. So have been documenting that. You've seen some photos of that from photographers, Robin and others, and I've actually been out with our mobile camera system and been taking some video. I don't have some real good stuff of Mom and DM2 over by the upper Iowa River, or of Hatchery Mom and Hatchery Dad in their new nest yet, but that will be coming. So that's exciting.
We're working on it for you.
At a minimum, we will have broadcasts, for several hours or even more than that through the season. We are working with landowners up on top of the bluff, and we will see if things work out for us to try to do something where we could do something on the order of what Jim did with the digiscoping, maybe a little bit closer than that. Our camera equipment and things are a little bit better than what they used to be. But for the folks that really want to just follow what's going on with Hatchery Mom and Hatchery Dad, and then even with Mom Decorah and DM2, there may be some possibilities for some remote camera work and watching and covering them here coming up in the next month or two. So
yeah, super exciting.
Yeah.
And then you reminded me that we saw a really interesting thing with the eggs this year. So HM, as everybody knows, laid 2 eggs, and then
Right. So the eggs were laid, and we were on our way to watching to see if Hatchery Mom and Hatchery Dad were going to actually become what we called them.
Not Hatchery Miss and Hatchery Dude.
Yeah, right. That was just a joke last year. So we were really waiting to see if that was going to happen. And each year, whenever some disturbance or something happens that will take the parents off of the eggs, We're always running the risk that it's possible that incubation stops for a period of time, and specifically we were seeing that happen with the Decorah North nest. With the intruders up there, we'll talk a little bit more about this, but basically Mr. North was doing almost all the incubation himself. And he was doing a pretty good job up until I think there was about a 3-hour period once first, and then there was like the whole night on a cold morning, and that probably led to the egg actually freezing. And then once he started incubating it again, that's probably why it cracked, because it had frozen. But for Decorah with Hatchery Mom and Hatchery Dad, they were off of the nest, if you remember, one night, I think it was around 6:30, 7 o'clock, Hatchery Mom left incubation. There's a little bit of smoke and some other things I think that were, irritating her or whatever. But it led to this question of how long can the eagles be off of the eggs when it's freezing temperatures? And temperatures, if I remember that night, did drop down into like the 27, 28 range. And definitely there was a lot of worrying going on that night.
Mm-hmm.
I know.
There's a lot of texting back and forth.
I was probably putting
and
in
phone
enough
calls.
worry for at least hundreds of people, just myself. So anyway, we were so happy to see that she came back at like 12:30.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was Hatchery Mom. I can't tell you if it was either her or Hatchery Dad, but I'm assuming it was probably Hatchery Mom. And so we had a period there of about 6 hours, plus or minus, where the eggs were uncovered in freezing temperatures, and that question always comes up. So a little bit of interesting research that we got to see and document, not by choice, but because it happened and we were watching it. And we know from hatching of DH1 and DH2 that it wasn't enough to cause any issues with their development. And again, we usually talk about it being early on in the incubation cycle. The earlier on, the lower development of the embryo and the eaglet in the egg, I think.
The longer it can suspend development.
Right. So just something interesting from that. Of course, we got to see an amazing season. Some really incredible footage of the hatch of DH2. I think
that was incredible.
I think it's 2K recorded, and that's why we always like to try to upgrade and keep our camera stuff as good as we can. But incredible footage of that hatch, which I still think that's probably some of the best hatch video I think of a bald eagle that I've ever seen.
And we'll put some links to these videos tonight in a blog or in a blog post on our website. So if you didn't see it, you should check it out, because John is completely right. I have never seen footage better than this. It's just incredible.
Yeah.
Now, sadly, DH1 didn't make it. And you know from watching our eagles and our falcons over the years that sometimes when you have a new eagle parent, they have the instinct to feed or to incubate or to do whatever they need to do, but they don't necessarily understand how to do it. So this was a year of learning for HM and HD, and fortunately they both seem to dial it in a little better with DH2, although you mentioned the shakes.
Yeah, so that I think was one of the big questions is with these new eagle parents, how are they going to handle the feeding and tending young? We've watched it with a new female falcon. With Zoe at Great Spirit Bluff, and we got to see a full bird brought in front of a newly hatched chick.
Yes.
So what was going to happen here with the eagles at Decorah, and it was a little bit, I was on the edge of my seat, definitely, there for a while. We had lost DH1, and DH2 was looking for food, doing the open mouth thing, sending the signal. And I think at first there wasn't much of anything coming, or it was larger chunks, ones that were not making it into the beak. But I could tell that whatever eagle salivation was going on there, there was some very, I was calling them fish shakes. basically thick mucus or whatever was coming out of HM's hatchery mom's beak, and I really think that those shakes may have sustained DH2 until she figured out how to break up the pieces small enough and actually get them into little DH2's beak. So again, there we watched some incredible footage of a eagle pair learning how to be parents.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It was an amazing year for that. Well, and how about, was it a hailstorm was that April or May, where I think it might have been HD, was just almost flat in the nest covering DH2.
Yeah,
that was incredible.
Yeah, those protective moments with the adult eagles when they're protecting either the young or that time period when they hatch is just so amazing, just because the eaglet does not have thermal down or regulating capabilities, and they're so susceptible to weather. So the parents usually do not get off very often. And I think I remember it was pretty windy at the N1 nest this year. So she was not getting off that much for an opportunity to feed.
Right.
Because it was so windy.
Yeah, the weather was really bad.
And the same thing with hatchery dad. So every year it's really interesting to see that dynamic of weather and how much the eagles will get off of the newly hatched eaglets, because they are so delicate and so susceptible. So
speaking of wind, N1.
Oh yeah. So we have the video from the new camera last year that came down, and it really is incredible. It's recorded in 4K. I think we're going to rebroadcast that because actually you've never seen that. When that was happening, I believe that we were watching with the other camera.
Yeah.
And so when that camera came down with the tree, it was incredible. There was a microburst that came through. DH2 had his talons locked into the branches
like as
of
flat
that nest.
as he could get.
It was flat, and we're saying he because I think hatchery had DH2 as a male based on voice and some other research.
We've been going back and forth about this one, so maybe we'll get a blog out about that too.
Yeah, we'll see. So if I call him, you know why. But DH2 was latched onto that nest, and it was really incredible. And then all of a sudden, you see the camera shaking while the tree is actually cracking in the wind. It's shaking, and the pelts of rain are coming down in wind, and then all of a sudden you see the nest kind of shift off, and camera comes down, and the tree lands right on the stub that had the microphone assembly and everything. So the sound just goes dead. But we did recover the video and audio in 4K from that late afternoon, I think it was.
I think so.
When that storm came through and took that tree down.
And we were pretty lucky because N1, although the wind footage is quite something, it remained unharmed, although a couple of limbs were knocked off when the tree next door fell. Right. So we were, I think, really lucky with that.
Yeah, the photographers and others who have been down there, and I know the cam operators are quite surprised at all the views that were opened up when that tree came down. And, you know, that's a good thing, but I think Stephen, one of our cam operators, was mentioning to me that really thought that the loss of their roost tree there that they used to roost in probably, you know, we always look back on these things and why do eagles move? Why would they not continue to go to a nest that they had just started? Well, actually it was half built by us and half
right, that's
built
true.
by them. It was our collaborative project. Now come on, you signed a contract, right? By building on that nest.
Apparently
not. Yeah. So anyway, you know, whatever the reasons, we'll never know. We can't get into an eagle's brain or mind, but, you know, we can make some guesses. And some big changes to that area, knowing that those eagles were not as human comfortable as Mom Decorah and Dad Decorah seemed to be the ones who used to always sit above the maple tree and let people get all the photos that they wanted, and we just never saw that with any of the eagles after Mom or Dad Decorah. Even DM2, I mean, he rarely would give those kind of
Yeah, that's true.
views. And of course, that's after the maple tree came down too.
It's certainly an interesting look at how habitat changes, both long-term ones and immediate ones
Right,
can
right,
impact eagle
right.
behavior.
So that being said, eagles love to build nests. They love to break off sticks, and they love to build. It's part of their courtship. It's part of what they're just hardwired to do.
Yep,
So
absolutely.
they start the stick carrying and dragging corn husks and things around, before they hardly even get their pin feathers in.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's really, it's something that we'll never be able to hold against them, even though sometimes it might not be the best
Easiest
thing
thing
for
to
us.
do. We should, before we get into camera work, bring up you either love them or you don't, the geese.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
we
yeah.
saw a geese nest over in N2B again this year. Mother goose laid 6 eggs and hatched 6 young. All 6 jumped. One didn't make it. The rest of them did make it and appeared to do pretty well, honestly,
Yeah,
looking at the
yeah.
paddling away in the stream.
Right,
So
right.
as far as we can tell, the little family successfully got over maybe into the hatchery pond and were doing wonderfully. One thing that came up a lot was, why aren't you doing something about where these geese are nesting? So first of all, this is something that the geese chose to do and we don't have control over that. And this is a behavior that's been documented back into the 50s. We think we probably didn't see it for a while because there weren't eagles around to build nests for geese to nest in. Now there are, we're seeing that behavior again. So, and then we can't control a whole lot about how they jump out of the nest. Again, that's their decision. So we did what we could down below, but there are factors beyond our control. We've got our fingers crossed for next year. We'll see if the geese come back. I think they probably will.
Right, right.
There's certainly enough of them. And if you like watching them, we hope you join us for watching them in 2024.
Yeah,
And then you should talk about the camera work.
yeah, yeah. I'm going to mention just a couple things
Oh,
about
good.
the geese. If you guys don't remember, one of our board members, Neil Reddig Productions, who worked with Bob to create American Eagle, which really started the whole Decorah Eagle Cam project.
Yes.
Neil was there filming. He came and was helping out with that. And you guys probably saw some of the footage in 1,000 frame per second with his red camera,
Yeah.
zoomed in, showing those little goslings just kind of tumbling out of that nest.
Yeah,
And just full faith, no fear, just taking their little wings and listening to mom calling them and just taking that leap of faith. Wood ducks do it too, and it is such a cool thing to see. It's one of the things that we've documented pretty well.
Yeah.
And somebody someday is going to probably want to make a movie about geese who want to be eagles, and we have the incredible footage from multiple years. So we're sitting on I think at least a silver mine there. It's some pretty cool stuff. So we can talk about cameras. We'll do just kind of a quick round robin. We upgraded partner camera with Excel Energy on our nest out there. That was the first work that we did on eagle nests and cams, and then we went to Decorah North. So lots of stuff at Decorah North. Not really any big problems there with the cameras. We're in great shape there with the cameras and microphones. We got backup. And so basically what we did there is we upgraded the pasture cam to the full 40x camera with 4K capabilities. So I know that the video that we're getting and the ability for us to tell what's going on there is much higher quality this year from replacing that camera down on the tree. A little bit of trimming I think we did, and then obviously
we fixed a mount because the squirrels will not stop.
yeah, we do have one red squirrel there that really likes to keep his teeth from growing, or her teeth from growing too long.
Yeah.
And likes to chew on plywood. So anyway, we cleaned those cameras, tested all the microphones, and basically we're in good shape there. So we moved next down to do some work at Decorah. So we did do cleaning at the N2B nest. We checked out things everything's been working great with the visitor center camera. So we really didn't, we after that cleaning, and we saw the same kind of behavior with Hatchery Mom and Hatchery Dad as last year when we put the new camera in next to the tree. They just kind of sat there and roosted over on the bluff and
Yeah,
watched
yeah,
us.
yeah.
And that happened again this year. So we put a new camera over closer towards the white barn
Yep,
over in the
yep.
background. And then we left the cameras in the same positions that they were in, although two of the cameras that were up on the top, we basically replaced them with just one camera. So we reduced the number of cameras there, and then we just added one camera over to the north.
Yeah.
And
Do you want to talk about the new stuff that we have planned, or
Yeah.
should we leave that? Or should we save
yeah,
that?
I think we can and we should. So I think, the smart thing for any organization that wants to share eagles and eaglets with the public is having backup, and Bob always was concerned about that.
Oh,
And
yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
really what led to us searching and finding the Decorah North nest, and we've cammed up other nests. We've actually cammed up two other nests before this year even.
Yeah.
In one case, we had eagles after half a year building the nest up over and burying the camera. So you guys never got to hear about that
They
one.
were very excited to have a new big branch to
So,
build on.
so I guess that's just another one of those cases where eagles building nests has caused some issues with our partnerships.
Yes, yes, it has.
So we have a partner that has an eagle nest over in Trempealeau, Wisconsin. It's a beautiful location, and we've been working with them, just kind of watching this nest for a while. And we took the advantage of it this year to go ahead and put cameras and microphones in that nest. So we don't have it up and running yet, and we don't have a history enough to know whether that they're going to nest there and be successful. They are roosting there right now, so fingers crossed. Everything looks good right now for another. The backup cam goes in the back pocket, the backup cam category. So so that's a possibility right there, and we'll see how things develop there. And probably in the next month we'll start getting some video from that camera. And we're always very careful with a new camera and a new setup to be very static with the cameras and infrared or anything that could move or change until we see that it really looks like they're committed. So we've always been careful like that with any of the new locations where we've cammed up, and even so, the same thing like with N1 and with N2B.
Yeah.
It's always never a guarantee that we're going to have eagles. So we've got a new eagle cam that we're working on, and that may be available. We've got our mobile camera. Actually, we're broadcasting with our mobile camera system today. And it's mobile, and we can pull it around, and we'll definitely be doing that in the interim here until egg laying in February. We'll be getting some footage of Mom, DM2 over on the Upper Iowa River. We'll also be getting some footage of HM and HD in their new nest, or maybe we won't need to do
Maybe
that
they'll
if
come
they
back.
kind of
Come on,
migrate
Eagles.
back to N1. So I'm not going to write that off.
And to everyone who has contacted me, you know who you are. No, we are not going to go pull the new nest down to drive them back to the N1 nest. It is not happening. I just want to be completely clear about that. No.
No,
So
we can't do
thank you
that.
for asking, and we would like to see them too. So I do get that, but we're not going to do that.
It's a funny joke. You can think about it, but it's like we
But
would
no,
never
we're not
do
doing that.
No.
We should probably talk about Decorah North.
Yeah. So Decorah North, it was a really interesting season last year. I mean, I don't think that we've observed this whole issue of just a lot of eagles being around, and the resident eagles getting very territorial. I guess we saw it when Mom and DM2 were not able to defend the hatchery valley from Hatchery Mom and Hatchery Dad, and they pretty much took over in early spring.
That's true. There was a little conflict. They weren't around a lot, but there was a little conflict early on in the spring of 2021.
But that was quite a ways away. That's over a mile and a half away from their nest.
Right.
That was on the fringe of their territory. So with Decorah North, we saw interlopers, if you want to call them interloper visitors, subadults, adults. We verified them flying around. Dave Kester was up there. I was there just scoping in on these adult eagles, and it looked like that really affected DNF. She, I guess the female, the larger eagle, we assumed that she was probably doing more of the defensive,
especially if there was another
maneuvers.
Adult female eagle in the area.
And we did see that behavior. It was almost like when Mr. North was sitting there incubating the egg, she would come and she would perch nearby. She wouldn't come into the nest, I don't think, that much, but she would call him away from the nest. And whether that was some kind of, request for help in defending the territory or what, it was just an interesting thing to watch. Her coming, calling, and bringing him away from incubation duties. And she would not come back after that first day or two and have anything to do with incubation. So
no, and we documented, I think it was 5 or 6 eagles over the course of 11 days that were there almost constantly. So they were chasing them, they were intruding on the net. I mean, there was like really a lot going on with other eagles there.
Yeah, and it was, that probably overlapped with DNF's egg laying cycle. She only laid that one egg, if you remember, and she was late. I think she was late by over a week and a half when that first egg was laid, and then it seemed like she just was totally in a different mode.
Yeah, completely.
Not egg incubation, and that, I tell you what, from what we've seen over the years with all the nesting years with eagles and at multiple nests, that force of parent eagle to incubate that egg and take care of that egg is a very strong driving force, instinctual, and something really had to happen to pull her away and to mess up with her egg laying cycle and also her desire to participate in incubation. Interestingly, Patry Dad's like, I think I can do this.
Well, and you had mentioned, because we talked about how HD and HM stopped incubation for a brief period of time, well, 6 hours, and the egg was fine, but that's not what happened here.
Yeah, right. So so like I mentioned before, I think I really was, after the first maybe 3 or 4 hour stint of him being off the eggs, it was just a little bit dipped below the 32 degrees, and there's residual heat in the egg, there's residual heat in the nest.
But the nest filled up with snow.
The second time,
that's right. There were 2 times.
The second time, I think it was the egg was not incubated all night.
Not all night,
and there was some sprinkled snow that came down, and then he started incubating like early that next morning. And what most likely happened is eggs are not nearly as strong from the inside out, but they are. You can hardly crush them if you try to crush them equally in direction from the outside in. So whenever the water that's in that egg freezes, it pushes it out and it cracks that egg much more easily, that shell. And then as soon as he came to incubate that and warmed it up, it most likely was cracked and just busted up as it melted from his incubation. So that's most likely what happened when he came back and we saw that the egg had cracked.
And we are hopeful for this year because both of them have been working on the nest. We're seeing quite a bit of them. We do again have an interloper, intruder, however you want to put it, who did something very interesting, stole nest materials. Last week?
Yeah.
We've seen squirrels steal nest materials. We've seen house
Birds,
sparrows, starlings, all kinds of little birds. This is the first time I've ever seen an eagle do it, and I have no idea what it did with it. So we're just kind of keeping an eye on that one.
Sorry, and I just mentioned that we have an interloper here. That's sleeping here. Total house cat. Never touched a bird. Never will. So, but anyway, we have a visitor for at least the next month who is not disturbed one bit by our talking or our presence here. So anyway, an interesting season that was short, but we had some dynamics going on that we've never really seen before.
Right.
So these are all opportunities. I guess it is. It really is pure research to see what's going on at these nests, documenting it, and seeing what happens at the nests if they are not successful. Just a quick mention about Mom and DM2. We watch those nests whether or not we're necessarily reporting every instance of what we're doing out there. But really what we typically do at these remote nests, specifically where we don't have a camera or something to watch on a regular basis, is to see if we do have onset of incubation. And for the last 2 years, we've been watching, and that just doesn't happen with Mom and DM2. We've even gone so far as when the eagles are gone to do an overhead and actually take a look in the nest and see if there's egg fragments, was an egg even laid, that kind of thing. And they're just, there was some incubation the year before last.
Yeah, no, 2022 there was incubation, but
Okay.
as far as we know, nothing happened.
Yeah.
And then this year
Yeah.
it didn't even look like there was incubation.
Right. So, Decorah is up in that 20 plus year range, and maybe she's just not a productive egg layer. Something's happening there. I guess we won't know, and I guess we'll see this year.
Yeah.
If we keep getting years where there's no incubation and no live eggs, then we'll probably, be more assured each year that happens, that's where she is
Yeah.
in her life cycle. So, as I mentioned, I'm kind of excited to do a little bit of broadcasting there and some recording again, even if it isn't with a permanent nest cam there. So, interested in doing that and being able to share that with everyone, as long as we're waiting. We usually are waiting till February, mid-February, anywhere for eggs to be laid. So we've got some time here that we can maybe do some interesting broadcasts. We got some really precious footage. I was mentioning to Amy of Dad Decorah and Mom Decorah, that season that Dad went missing, and maybe it'd be nice to see a rebroadcast of some of that stuff to fill in the gaps,
to
right?
fill in the gaps. And we should probably talk about Great Spirit Bluff.
Yeah, let's talk about Great Spirit Bluff. Again, just, boy, we've had some really, some swings from one side to the other with Newman, the Bachelor Edition. Just kind of watching the male peregrine falcon, who really, and I think it's this way with eagles too, and that's why I always thought DM2, I really, every time we would see him leave early after the young were gone, it's like he always headed over in that direction,
right,
towards the Upper Iowa River. And, it's like maybe that fidelity that Mom Decorah had there just could only last for so long before she came with him over, and they started building a nest over on the Upper Iowa River, which I think maybe was more the territory that he came from. But just
back to Newman and Savannah.
Like eagles, I think with falcons probably even more. So the male peregrine falcon basically picking that territory, attracting a female, and then them doing their dance, each upping dance. And
there was so much of that this year. I'm like, should we even be broadcasting this?
Yeah, and I'm not talking about the copulation either.
Right.
That's part of life with raptors. But I think there were 2 or 3 that came in, even an unbanded one that we weren't quite sure, whether that might have been a return of Zoe.
Yeah.
But we had Savannah come in, and she pretty much won out the territory.
Yeah.
And that was the way the season went. And with a new female, with a new male there, it was just, everything looked like it was going just like normal, just the way it's supposed to. And I thought that, we had a pretty normal season. We did see some great horned owls, I think once or twice. It's just like, okay, they're just passing through.
Right.
And then I think I remember that one. I think was late at, yeah, it was maybe like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, I think. Owl came, very windy, breezy night, and it was coming up, and she noticed it. I mean, they're so stealth when they come up. They are so stealth.
Yeah,
So
they are.
on a breezy night, she must have seen it probably before she heard it, perched out there, and she flew off instinctively, immediately in protest, and was screaming, just like she would do as a peregrine falcon to try to drive that owl away from the territory. And it sounded like her vocalizations kind of changed. And I'm guessing that it's possible that owl kind of followed her,
Right.
and where she was going to perch or whatever, it caught up with her. And we never saw her again. We heard her, which was hard to listen to for about at least a couple minutes after
Right.
that,
Right.
vocalizing, and then we never saw her again. So just that challenge. I know we were talking about the possibility of fostering the young, trying to feed them for a while. We were going to wait and see, what it looks
'Cause we
like
weren't sure if Newman, like we knew if Newman
Yeah.
was alive, of course he'd come back, but we didn't even know because he didn't show up for a while, like
Right.
what had happened with Newman. So
Right.
we had a whole lot of discussions in a very short period of time.
Yeah. So the question was, would Newman come in and would he bring in food and do the feeding? Now, the young falcons were old enough that I believe that they were starting to self-feed.
Yeah, they were.
So I think that took one of the worries away, is if he just brings it in, are they going to be able to do something with it? So
Yeah, he could do a drop and dash.
right. So we didn't need to help out, thankfully, in that situation. He did an amazing job. He was super dad falcon.
Yeah, that's true.
And he fed those 4 falcons to fledge, and after he was training them and teaching them how to fly, they spent it was so cool to watch them just kind of navigating the bluff as they decided to, actually fledge. And I can't remember if it was Alice was the last one
Alice
to
was the
fledge.
last one to fledge.
The one that we named after my mom, yeah. The last one to fledge.
The sibling squadron.
Yeah, right. So basically, we saw the owl come back, and I think we're going to talk more about this. I think folks that ask about this, and when we've posted about this, the nest box versus cavities that are natural, which ones are falcons more susceptible? Will a great horned owl come to one preferentially over the other? A lot of questions came in. Some of them, why do you guys put nest boxes in places where they're great horned owls? Unfortunately, there are great horned owls in the whole world,
Everywhere.
and in the continent, the U.S. continent, especially in the Midwest here. It's just like there are great horned owls all over the place, and as hard as it is to watch and as hard as it is to see, there are going to be seasons. We had plenty of seasons where it didn't seem like they came.
Right.
We've got one or two, or that are, when they're raising their young, they're looking for food, and unfortunately, the statue sleeping silhouette of a young falcon is too irresistible for them. We've seen other locations, even just this last year, where at Castle Rock we had a young falcon that was dead, and it looked like it had been cached by most likely a great horned owl, and then another band from a falcon that was also banded at Castle Rock. And another nest where we had blood feathers of young falcons a week and a half after we had visited the nest, and they were not old enough to band yet. So it is something that is there. It's been there forever, and that adversarial food relationship, just like we see DNF bring in young hawklets into the Decorah North nest each year. It's hard to watch, but if it's a food source and it's available, these raptors are going to get it to try to feed their young. So,
I'm going to say something about Savannah really quickly too, because I know a lot of people sort of bonded with her, especially if you're familiar with the story of Savannah Graywind. So um, it was really hard to see her go, and I had hoped to watch her there for years. So that's about all I can say. Like John said, there's nothing we can do, but uh,
yeah,
I'm really sorry.
yeah, yeah, it's tough to watch and tough to see. Um, so we'll see what happens this year.
There is
We've had,
one piece of interesting news from Great Spirit Bluff. It's another new project.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So everybody's always been wondering what happens over on the north side of the bluff. And at least we've got a partial answer to that this year. We started more on the north side of the bluff. There's a lot of perches over there that we could see that they've been perching on. We saw mutes there and some nesting, or I guess perch spots. They always could be that there's a ledge there that we call the Rock Ledge Diner. It goes through there. We did put a camera that we haven't hooked up yet, but we do have a camera over on the north side of the bluff face there. So um, once we get that hooked up, we'll be able to take a look and see views of that north side and what's going on over there. There is another crease over in there that we just had to pick one, so we started with one.
Right.
And mounted a camera there, and if they ever move to the Rock Ledge for nesting or something like that, we probably would hang something down and
Right.
put something down there. We've got something that we can put in that place, but we have a new camera at Great Spirit Bluff.
And
So
John and I will be out Thursday freezing our butts off and working on the camera, so that'll be awesome.
yeah. So we'll be hooking that one up and just getting it stabilized a little bit more for wind, and we'll be going up and we'll be visiting the Trempealeau site, checking and seeing how the eagles are doing there, see about hooking things up and actually start getting some access to the camera, and working with the Explorer folks to see about getting that one online for this year. So it's
And the
it's
Newcastle Rock
exciting.
Cam too. We've got a
Yep.
lot going on right
Yep.
now.
Another thing that's really incredible is a collaborative project with Vic and Mary Holek, who purchased a property that is one of the most beautiful falcon eyries, I think, up and down the whole Mississippi River Valley. It is in the Winona area. It's over just south of Fountain City. They call it Castle Rock because there's these pillars there that look like castle spires.
Yeah.
And there are a couple pothole eyries that they're probably 3-4 feet at least in diameter, and they go back that far. And if you look at them from down on the highway, they actually look like it looks like eyeballs and a big mouth there.
Right, the alien face.
Yeah,
we
the
call
alien
it.
face. It looks like, and they've been nesting. They returned in some of our old video of Bob, one of the first years of the falcons with the gold bands that came back. Gunner and others. I don't know if Gunner was at Castle Rock.
No, Gunner's Maiden Rock.
Okay, but one of the first banding film events that we had after that, I guess it would have been in 2000?
2001.
2001. Bob going down, banding, and the falcons there for the first time in this very pothole eyrie. So it's really cool to see that they returned 3 years ago
Yeah.
to that eyrie, and it's totally natural. We've got a pendant pan-tilt zoom camera with a built-in microphone that's hanging there, and then another pan-tilt zoom camera like what we have out on the flyway
Yeah.
over on the bluff to watch them going in and out and perch and just look in that beautiful valley.
And
So
those views are stunning. I mean, they're just amazing.
so we've got a collaborative project with cooperating landowners there, and we're really excited to bring another peregrine falcon nest cam to all of you to watch and enjoy, and for us to do our research.
And you'll get to see now sort of another view of the flyway, because we have John's flyway cam right in the middle of the river.
Right.
And then we have the Great Spirit Bluff cameras, and now upstream, how many river miles?
It's about
15 or 20?
close to 30,
30?
25,
Okay.
yeah, almost 30 miles up to Fountain City, just south of Fountain City. So beautiful area view there. You can see the Minnesota Bluffs. You can see Winona. You can look up and see towards Fountain City and south down towards Trempealeau and that refuge down there. So it's a beautiful spot. So it's I'm sure the cam operators will be fighting over that one.
Oh, absolutely. So speaking of the flyway,
Yeah,
that was a pretty good year
yeah. Interesting year. If you guys remember, I think it was November.
of last year.
November, kind of late in the year when we went out there, or late October. Maybe it was, no, it was October when we installed the pole, and then I think it was just late October, early November when we installed the camera.
Was that when we were like on ladders and platforms in
Amy,
waders
you were,
and climbing
yeah,
harnesses?
yeah. So you were on the deer stand helping put that camera up. But so we actually have two cameras out there. We've been using the newest one on the pole that's closer to the water course that has stayed open. That is like a mini delta area. There is a pretty good flow from the main channel of the Mississippi River that flows through that area. And it's been building the island out from the pole that had the original Nest camera in. And so we decided to put another pole 300 feet away over closer to the active channel going through Summer Slough. And that camera has been amazing. It's a great camera. We've got a lot of great footage. We have the capability to go out there, and we will eventually hook it up so we can flip back and forth between both cameras. We have another solar panel to put out there. We've got a couple extra batteries to put out there to increase that, so we'll be able to possibly watch the camera through the nighttime with infrared, which takes power. So a lot of times when power is low, we'll shut down the infrared at night.
Yeah, that's why it shuts down at
So
night.
that's why we typically go to highlights at night, or don't have infrared. But there's a lot of neat stuff that goes on out there in the early morning hours and the nighttime too. So we'll see that eventually. But after this, probably this spring reverse migration that happens in 2024, we'll get both cameras connected up, the third solar panel, and a couple extra batteries to add to the bank for a total of 6. And we should be able to have a little bit more continued coverage out there. But
And if you don't watch the flyway, check it out, because one thing that's interesting to me, like, first of all, I love seeing the long distance migrants. So we've seen like American golden plovers, which are from up in Alaska. We see birds that come through Nunavut. We see birds we don't often see much, like soros are really common, but they're pretty elusive, so they're hard to see. We see sometimes really rare birds like white-faced ibis last year, so it's really worth it to watch all the birds. And then the eagles are fascinating because we're seeing them in such a different period of their life, and they're behaving so differently. So like we had a video maker capture group hunting by bald eagles a couple days ago. They were after a duck. I don't remember what kind of duck now, but we've got video of it, and we'll share that as well, because it's really interesting to watch them trying to get this duck. The duck was a diving duck. It's trying to get away, and it did get away, so you can watch it and feel good about watching this. But just the behavior was fascinating, and we see so many interesting things from sort of the more social stage of their life, especially in fall and spring.
Right. I'm just going to say a couple things, and then it's getting close to 2 o'clock here, so we'll take some questions and things. But
That's how it's goes so fast.
I'm going to put this plug out there. It's like, hey, you guys got smart TVs. If you've got YouTube, you can just arrow over to YouTube and pull up your thing and say, play YouTube Mississippi Flyway camera or Decorah Eagle camera, and you'll see that window into nature, news from nature. I like to watch news from nature. Sometimes a lot better than news of humans.
Absolutely. No, please give us the news from nature.
So it's incredible to watch. It's incredible to listen to. It's just like you're right out there. So anyway, thank you so much. Remember that we've got our education programs out there right now. We've got 2 master banders, Bob Chapman and Dave Kester, out there with college students. They're finishing up their trapping and banding internship, I guess, or assistantship.
Yeah, internship, yep.
From Luther College, and then some other high school students and others are over at our new banding station over in Wyalusing. So that's going on right now. And
Golden Eagle tracking.
Yeah, we actually, oh gosh, we forgot. We haven't talked about golden eagles yet.
Oh, no.
Maybe we'll have to really push these questions to the end. But at our Wyalusing station, Bob actually did get an adult male golden eagle. Um, so
Yeah, they had a crazy year. So at our Hawk Hill station, which is a partnership we're in with Luther College, we had 54 raptors banded by Dave Kester and 6 interns. So then over at the Wyalusing station, which is a lot closer to the Mississippi River, so it's right on the flyway, whereas Decorah, I think, would be 30 land miles back. They caught and banded 255 raptors. So that station has a potential to really become a landmark site, and it's important because there's not really a concerted banding research project that I'm aware of in the upper driftless, and tracking these birds this way is not only valuable in the sense that we're working with Luther and we're doing conservation education and we're inspiring a generation who's going to be educated and going to be leaders on this issue, but we're also really seeing the ebb and flow of species as they come through this year, how many species, who's there, who's not there. So this is an important, like our peregrine banding program, a really important program because it allows us to monitor the health of a population over a long period of time.
right, right. Yeah, and just there's so many things coming along, that raptor's face. We see outbreaks of black flies that affect eagles. They affect falcons. They affect others. We now are
Avian influenza, which we didn't even really mention that we did sampling for with the Raptor Center and the Iowa DNR. So everybody's negative so far, that at least that we sampled. Although we did have 2 falcons that were diagnosed with it that we picked up and were able to get. So we're monitoring for that.
Right. So the things that there's a lot of things that we're monitoring for in that specific project of watching over and participating in monitoring this population of falcons that was brought back from near extinction is really that's one of our core. I think it's a core program, a core project. Definitely in the research category. Just love doing that. So, should we talk a little bit about golden eagles?
You know you want to talk about golden eagles. Yes, we should.
All right.
Including maybe that there could be a project in the works, if you want to bring that up.
Yeah.
If you don't, everybody can wonder.
That's right. I almost forgot about that. So many fun things. So we're going into the 3rd year of our golden eagle multi-year study, and basically, let's see, we trapped and we put transmitters on 7 golden eagles, 2 the first year and 5 last year. One of them, the last one, was actually a rehab golden eagle up in northern Wisconsin. It was an opportunity where injured male adult eagle came in, golden eagle, and it was rehabbed and ready to go, and we were able to participate in putting it into our study and putting a transmitter on that male. We're planning on trapping and transmitting at least another 4, maybe 5. We're looking specifically more for adult golden eagles this year. We had a lot of younger, immature.
Right.
In the first 2 years. So that's going on. Pretty much committed to learning more about this Midwest population, and our original thoughts of trying to track them up into the Nunavut, northern Canada, Arctic Circle, Northwest Passage area, and find a nesting pair up there, and maybe put a nest cam up there. We're looking at the possibility of possibly doing something a little bit closer, like over in the mountain areas of Montana. So we're looking at the possibility. I guess it's not written in stone yet about putting together a golden eagle camera that we probably would get it outfitted at our normal eagle maintenance time period of August and September of this coming year, and then it would be viewable for the 2024-2025 season. So possible golden eagle camera. I'm all for it. What do you guys think? And we're also working with our partners at the Philippine Eagle Foundation and continue to do what we can to help with them with raising financial resources, and also help them with the project to really just save that species from extinction. the Philippine eagle, the most rare and most endangered eagle in the world,
Yep.
unique only to the Philippines. And that eagle, which is in Bird of Prey, Neil Reddig and Laura Johnson, the passion of them working with Cornell to put out that movie, Bird of Prey, talking about the struggles of the Philippine eagle and the Philippine people, basically trying to save that eagle from extinction. We're talking about possibly breeding chamber camera like Bob had years back with them.
Yeah.
And then also the possibility of at least a partial season nest cam live up way up 120, 150 feet up in the jungle trees of the Philippines to
Yep.
to see more and learn more about the lives of Philippine eagles. So also a possibility out in the future here. We'll see how that goes.
So before we get to your questions, I'm just going to put a final plug. It is Giving Tuesday, so if you're able to donate to us and to support the work that we were just talking about, that would be awesome. If you'd like to learn what we did this year for banding, I just put links up this morning on Facebook and our website. We just released a 2023 banding report that also includes a lot of stuff
Right.
that's not banding, so that's out there. And then you can also subscribe to our blog. Go to www.raptorresource.org. There's a subscribe link at the top in the header. Click on that and you can subscribe to our blog and keep up with what's going on if you don't want to follow us on Facebook. But if you do, follow us on Facebook. So I'm going to take my glasses off here and do this to the phone so I can,
We'll take
read
a
your
look and see questions.
Sorry.
So anyway, thank you so much. Things year end will be coming up. We'll have the calendars coming here, and this is one from the Flyway. We've been collecting amazing photos. Here's the Decorah North one from this year. If anybody even wants, we do have some extras. Even though they're not calendars anymore, they are beautiful photos. Here's the geese and Decorah pair, hatchery mom and hatchery dad, and then the Great Spirit Bluff falcon. So those will be coming out here in December, and our newsletter will be coming out also. So what Amy said, please consider whatever you can if you like watching the cameras. If you're part of the Decorah Eagles Facebook group, if you're part of the Decorah North Facebook group,
If you come in and chat with us.
if you come in and chat, if you like to see that and you like to watch eagles.
Speaking of
help us out.
chat, so Lady Lisa asked a question about the intruder stealing fluff from the north nest and if we think there could be another nest in the area. We haven't seen signs of it where we're able to see, but we'll probably take a visit out there. I will say that this was like a young adult intruder, so maybe like a five and a half year old. My guess is that the fluff stealing was instinctive because we've also seen this eagle up there rearranging sticks and kind of in and around the area. But we'll maybe see if we can't get out there and take a look.
Yeah, and we saw that with Mom Decorah and one of the young male
Oh, that's
sub-adults.
right, that built the nest.
Yeah, they built that starter nest, and that's what led to putting one of the cameras closer down to where that starter nest was, in addition to the great view that we had of the camera on the Y branch.
That's right.
So
I forgot about that.
they do that quite a bit. Young eagles will, and if they're not on the flyway socializing, they're
Right.
practicing and playing, where they find nest materials.
And then Mary Schmidt wanted to know if there was any news on Fort St. Vrain. So Fort St. Vrain appears to be doing really well. Ma and Pa Jr. are both out there. We've seen them working on the nest. So it just definitely looks like we're setting up for another year there. We're really hopeful. If you remember, we didn't talk about FSV, but they laid 3 eggs, 2 hatched, and then one of the young died following a very severe hailstorm. So we think it was probably hit by hail, but the other one survived and fled. So we're really hopeful for another good year for them. John replaced a camera there. We mentioned this earlier, but John replaced a camera there as well. And things appear to be going really well, so knock on wood for Fort St. Vrain.
Yep, that site has had ice storms and raccoon intrusions and all kinds of things.
Yeah, it's on the
over the
front
years.
range. It's just a completely different ecosystem than any other nest we watch. So it's also, we see magpies there, which to me, I know again, people are kind of like, I love magpies or magpies, but we haven't had a problem with them in the young, and I think they're quite fascinating to watch.
Right, right.
Okay, I'm looking to see if we have any other questions. Oh, thank you, Mary Schmidt. The cat is wonderful. And as John pointed out, this is a completely indoor cat and very comfortable with us sitting here and
Mitski,
chatting.
yeah, my daughter's cat who will be going out to California here in the next month. So just a temporary visitor.
Okay. And then now somebody wondered if that was Lady Lisa, if the intruder was DN5, and we talk about this a lot. We've seen back when we still had Decorah eagles with transmitters, we did see them near the nest a couple of times.
Right.
So, I don't know if it would have been DN. I'm trying to think of the age of our eagles. Yeah, the age probably would be about right. So we can't rule it out, but we just
Right.
don't know.
And it seems like it is something that you could imagine happening. The familiarity that the eagle has, like with the trees, or knowing that there's a raceway there or a pond that has trout
Right.
for the stealing,
Right.
getting.
It seems like it
It's
shows
like-
up and it just knows.
All of the time that they spend, as a sub before migration that first year, it makes you wonder about them coming back to their natal nest territory. They see familiar grounds, they see familiar food source. It's like, oh, that's my favorite place to eat. It's so easy to get the fish there. So, yeah, it's something that I don't know that we haven't documented it, other than like what you said with the habits
occasionally
of the
showing up.
of the eaglets that we put transmitters on and tracked, and that just knowing that they're in the area and that they come down near Decorah, every winter.
Right. Smokey, yeah. Hi, Smokey. Great to see you. So your question was, who writes the annual banding report, and do we write it together? And thank you so much for your kind words. It's really a joint effort between all of us, because it starts when we're out banding and we have to take all of the notes in the banding book and try to remember to write everything down, even if like there's 4 other sites to hit. That's stressful, like whatever. Then you go through, you get all the data down. John helps, John writes the message. So it's really, I would say, a joint effort between you, I, Dave, and whoever else we can rope into helping.
Right. So you're right. It's from the field logbook, and this is real research. It's like from the field logbook, from the North Crew and the South Crew banding, and then all the input coming in from the different projects that are included in there now, the trapping banding station, the eagle cams. That report typically was a banding report for monitoring the comeback of the peregrine falcon. And now we've got branches of what we do in that report. I'll say that we collect the data as we're going through. Amy does most of the work assembling it all and does a terrific job in getting the details and the notes and keeping those relationships up with our landowners and just communicating and gathering that data. So it's a fun thing to do and to put out, and it was a great year.
Yeah.
81 falcons.
81 falcons. And to give you some idea of just the data challenges, not the actual site challenges, not trying to get to all of these sites, but for peregrine falcon banding alone, we monitor 50 sites, and we usually have between 25 and 30 that are active. So the banding season, we call it the banding season, but truly the season probably starts in February with monitoring, connecting with landowners. You have to visit a lot to figure out what's going on, because falcons can shift around, they can change their behavior, you can have another one come in, you can have nest upsets and so on and so forth. So all of this work gets sort of bigger and bigger and bigger. We get out in the field, we have to have the data from every site that we band at, we have to report that data to the feds and the Midwest Peregrine Falcon Database, no, Midwest Peregrine Falcon Society in the Midwest Peregrine Falcon Database, and then we also have to keep our own records, and that's not even considering all of the work that goes into assembling map information for the golden eagles, or all the work that Dave Kester and Bob do with the banding stations, because all that data also has to be reported, and we have to keep relationships and permits up for all of it, because this is a pretty highly permitted thing that we do. So that's a whole nother factor, right? So the question of like, do we work together? We couldn't get it. We couldn't get it done if we didn't.
Correct. Yeah. Great question.
Okay, all right. And I'm looking to see if we have any other questions here. Lady Lisa, I will contact you on that. And if anybody else has a question, go ahead and ask.
Yep. We'll talk here for a few more minutes. I don't have any hard shutdown here.
Right.
So, and we get to decide when to stop the broadcast. So we'll make sure that we answer any questions that you guys put through or have. So, yeah, so I think, you know, we just got a report from one of the Golden Eagles that is down in Wisconsin in
Yes.
the Dovey area. So one of our Eagle partners is now in Wisconsin, wintering in the driftless area now, and so that's exciting for us. And I know Ryan and Brett are chomping at the bit to see how many more of them check in.
Oh yeah.
There are cellular tracking transmitters on there, so a lot of the data is collected. They're solar powered, and the data is collected even though it can't be transmitted through the cellular because the towers are either too far away or the connection is not good enough. We're starting to see data from prior in the year start trickling in, data points of where the Golden Eagles have been when they were up in the Arctic areas in northern Canada. So it's interesting.
Yeah, and if you've been following me, periodically post Ryan's maps, and then if you go to the website and roll over, I think it's Explore, you'll see Eagle maps. So I'm periodically posting points on there. But if you look at that, you'll see really how amazing it is how far north some of those eagles are. They're not just in, so Nunavut's a vast indigenous piece of land north of Canada, and some of them have been sort of at the southern border of Nunavut. The ones that are up in far Nunavut are in the Arctic. The journeys they make are just unbelievable.
Yeah, and they pass up through the Churchill area where you know the polar bear
Yes.
mobile camera is.
I
and
keep
think,
hoping one shows up on the mobile cam.
yeah, the polar bear camera is there, and also I think the snowy owl camera is not too far away from there. But any other questions?
Yeah, Mary Schmidt wondered if we had ever thought about an owl cam, and I don't think we've really discussed it. There was some discussion that we might end up with one this year at N1 or N2B,
Yeah.
but
Right. I think that'd be kind of an opportunity thing. Explore with the Owl Research Institute, and the group out there, you know, does a great job showing people the lives of most all the different owls. And then they've got the snowy owl camera too. So I think it's not something that we're looking to do ourselves and duplicate that.
But there are sure some great things you could watch.
If it
Explore,
happened,
right?
like the geese, you know, let's say N1 was not productive for the eagles, and we had the hooties came, and we had some owl pair there. It's like the cameras are there.
We would eagerly watch them.
Yeah, yep, and we'd tell them to stay away from Great Spirit Bluff.
Stay away from Great Spirit Bluff. Don't bother the geese.
Right.
Of course, they don't have
Right.
long to bother the geese.
Yeah, yep. So, all right.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any more questions, so thanks so much for being here with us. Thanks for supporting us. Thanks for donating to us. We've got some things on our Facebook page today, and I'll probably go do a post later, so if you had a question that you want answered that we didn't answer together, I'll do a post. Just check in, and we'll see if we can answer it.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's great partnering with you all, bringing this stuff to you, and it's great being able to help with following through and monitoring this amazing population of peregrine falcons after DDT and what happened. Like I said, it's got to be, I think one of the things that we look forward to most about what we do at Raptor Resource Project. So your donations help fund that work that we do along with others monitoring this population here in the Midwest, and then also the education programs with the Eagle Cams, and now that's expanding out, you know, with Raptor Cams and new Eagle cams and new Falcon cams.
And we couldn't do it without you and also our volunteers. I have to give a shout out to our volunteers. Our camera operators are out there all the time catching such special scenes for us. Our volunteer chat moderators are just amazing. They're out there right now. Like, I thank you guys from the bottom of our hearts. We really appreciate it. And also a thanks to the video makers who make it really possible for us to do a Netflix roundup and to share some of these moments with you.
Thanks to all the landowners out there, and we'll be doing our best to see if we can collaborate with them, with Hatchery Mom and Hatchery Dad, and we'll see if there's any opportunities to do a little bit more with Mom Decorah and DM2. Thank you so much. I got to give a shout out to our big supporters, and that is Annenberg and Explore.org, and our partnership there is very valuable and very precious in us getting out what we do and being able to do what we do. So thank you so much. Happy Giving Tuesday, and